Welcome, everybody. I'm Larry Lazar, also called Coach Larry, a business development coach, and today I'm going to talk about the importance of mindset. Basically, you change your mindset, you change your business, because many people think that business problems and all the challenges are primarily strategy, marketing, or cash flow. Those are symptoms, good or bad. It's not necessary, but it's all around mindset. The biggest problem is because we don't outgrow our psychology. And today I'm going to talk to you about mastering your inner world, because that ultimately becomes your outer world. Now, what do I mean by that? There's been a lot of philosophers that say what the mind perceives, the body achieves. You need to think it, see it, you know, and then be it. Now, many of us have felt stuck, overwhelmed, it's like you're getting in your own way. And what I'm looking to do in this video is give you the tools to shift your thinking, regulate your emotions so that you can make better decisions that'll take your business to the next level, whatever those decisions happen to be. And those are yours to make. Now, let's rock. Why your psychology matters? As your business owner, you're not just managing tasks, because we're always managing tasks in one way or another, whether it be in our home life, uh, with dealing with a spouse, children, or if you're still or if your parents are around, tasks generated around them. But especially in the business, you're managing tasks, but it's more than that. You got to manage yourself. How are you going to handle pressure? And pressure's all over the place. How do you lead your team? If you're the owner of a business and you have employees, that's your team. Also, your vendors, if you're doing retail, other employees I mentioned, and other people that are on your team that you're working with, whether it's advertisers, vendors of various things. All these things are part of your team, your networking group. And how you manage them. How do you respond to setbacks? And setbacks happen every day. I've never seen a business or anything that hasn't had something go wrong. Maybe a little glitch, but sometimes small glitches can turn into disasters. But how do you handle these little glitches? And it always starts as a little glitch. How do you make decisions? How do you show up every day? These are things that are vital. Now, what it is we trying to accomplish here? Well, entrepreneurs face the same challenges and fear. It can either spiral in fear and hesitation, or it could also stay calm, strategic, and decisive. My wife is a perfect example of that. She'll complain about certain things, and she'll, worry about things, but she also, at the end of when all is said and done, she actually comes up with solutions that are clear cut and actually help solve the problem at hand, or so it becomes a less of an issue. Now, what mental patterns sabotage our success? Whenever I talk to a client or a potential client, I always ask, what do you think is either standing in your way, slowing you down, or stopping you from achieving whatever your goal happens to be? And it's usually one of five things. Overthinking, the paralysis of analysis with all the information that's coming in. You got, from the news media, from from entertainment sources, from journals, trade journals, from customers, from vendors, from well-meaning family, friends, government. You get into information overload, and you wind up, trying to piece all together, and you get a paralysis of analysis. It's ridiculous, all that noise. Step back, take a chill pill, as it were. Although I'm not crazy about pills, but look at it. Another thing is imposter syndrome. In other words, you're building something, it's looking real, and all of a sudden something in your mind says, "Oh, I'm not good enough for this. Why is this happening?" We become afraid of success. Usually we're afraid of failure, but sometimes we can get a fear of success because because we have this thing in our mind, maybe because of upbringing, either from our parents or teachers or whatever, saying, know your limits. I believe in expanding your limits. That's why you need to upgrade your skills. But that's a subject for another video. A lot of times we make decisions based on fear. We will either avoid taking a certain action because we're afraid of it's going to cost too much money, and we're not going to get a proper return on investment. And sometimes that's valid, but a lot of times we'll jump into something because we're afraid that by not doing it, something bad will happen on the other side of the coin. So there's a lot of problems, but you need to, instead of responding with fear, you need to respond with intention. You need to know what the desired outcome is, and if you know that, the decision that you make, whatever it is, should be with the intention of getting to that particular goal, getting the outcome. And everything is about outcome. Another thing that stands in our way is being perfectionists. You're polishing instead of progressing. It doesn't necessarily, if you're doing something for the first time, or even if you're doing something for the 100th time, many times it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because you can never achieve total perfection. Not saying that good enough is good enough, but you want to do better, but you want to make sure that you do it. It gets done. And it gets done in a way that's going to progress you, not just polish it up. And because a lot of times people are so perfectionistic that they wind up taking no action at all, and that's not good. And of course, the other one is reaction emotionally. Stress happens all the time. You make decisions from panic instead of power. The patterns don't just, this doesn't just slow you down, it shapes the entire business trajectory. If you're always in panic mode, how can you be in progressive mode? How can you be in growth mode if you're always putting out fires? If you're always panicking? Now, we need to find a way to control our inner psychology. Here's some practical things you could do today. Number one, state your awareness. You have a state of awareness. Before you make any decision, ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? This can save you months of aggravation because if you're just responding instead of just reacting to the issue, then how do you know that you're making the right choice if you're just reacting? I went to a seminar once with Tom Hopkins, and he said you're going to get a lot of S's before you do before you give your R. You got to take a P. What does that mean? Very simple. S stands for stimulus. R is response. And P is for pause. Stimulus, pause, response. Do it in that order. As I said, you're always going to get an S. Don't give your R until you take a P. Make sense? It's a funny way of saying it, but you get the point. Now, and a lot of times we feel overwhelmed by the S's, that you need to take a deep breath, step back 60 seconds, and reset your nervous system before you reset the business. That's what I mean by taking a step back, taking the necessary P in order to have a good R. Now, reframing. What is failure? Failure isn't necessarily failure. It's a way to strategize. It's a way of learning from a mistake and change your trajectory so you don't go through the same failure again. Failure is not failure. There's no such thing as failure. It's feedback. And problems are merely data. If you look at a problem as, oh my gosh, this is a problem, what am I going to do? No. It's information. It's data. You look at it, and just like anything else, you analyze the data. Don't go down analysis paralysis. You see the data, you look at it, and then you respond to it appropriately. You adjust your trajectory. You adjust your actions. You strategize your actions, and sometimes you have to upgrade your skills in order to properly address such problems, or data, as it were. Now, obstacles are only information. Now, identity shifting. What would the future version of me do right now? In other words, every day we're looking to improve who we are. And even if it's 1%, it doesn't have to be 100% every day. That's impossible. But if it's 1% per day, compounded, it's not 365% at the end of a year's time. It's infinite, because you're building on yesterday's improvement. You're building on tomorrow's improvement, and so on and so forth. So it's cumulative. And You got to go from you got to look at things not from the angle of who you are now, but from the improved version of yourself that you're striving to become. Now, what about your limiting beliefs? We all have them. You got to rewire them. Entrepreneurs have beliefs that basically quietly cap the potential. In other words, you get to a plateau and you stay there. And most of the time, our limiting beliefs are because of our stalls, as I like to call them, is because of our limiting beliefs. We don't believe that we can go any further. We don't we don't think that we're worth going any further. Something in our psyche is telling us, "Hey, back off. This is good. This is good enough. Good enough isn't good enough." There, there's only there's only two ways a business can go: either it grows or it dies. That's it. Now, you identify the belief. Say, "I'm not ready to scale the business." What do you mean you're not ready to scale? Things are going well. I mean, you're bringing in a nice amount. Why not scale it? You challenge such a belief. Is this objectively true? Most of the time, when we encounter limits, there's, we encounter certain setbacks or roadblocks. It's because of our own psyche. Johnny Weissmuller, who was the star of Tarzan movies, he was also an amazing swimmer. And he broke swimming records, amazing. They were amazing. He was a super phenomenon in his day. Today, high school kids are breaking his records daily. The 4-minute mile used to be unheard of. Today, many people are breaking the 4-minute mile because they believe they can. It's all in the mindset. Now, with these mindsets, you can replace it. I can learn the skills. And again, upgrading your skills is on another video, but it's important to know that you can learn the skills that are required to scale your business from where it is now to where you would like it to be. And you reinforce it through consistent positive action. Now, your beliefs shape your behavior. In other words, see it, be it, believe it. My mom used to tell me, what the mind perceives, the body will achieve. And it's true. Now, you got to stay grounded under pressure. Pressure is something that happens to everybody. We all have pressures. Part of the game. But suffering from those pressures is not. It is optional. It's not required. We're required to have the pressure, but suffering from the pressure is not, is optional. How are you going to do this? How do high performers stay grounded? You regulate your emotions before communicating. You don't just go in and start ranting, raving, yelling, and screaming because, number one, you look like a nut, and number two, it's going to alienate a lot of people, and it can actually cause more harm than good. You take a step back, and you You focus on what you're looking to do uh, before you communicate. Now, you create a routine to stabilize your mind. You build a space for strategic thinking, and you don't let urgency override clarity, because there are going to be urgent tasks, important tasks, but unless you're able to think clearly, you won't be able to perform the urgent tasks in a proper way. You're just basically putting out a fire. Now, calm is a superpower and something you can train. Your inner psychology is the foundation of everything you build. You got to master your mind, and that will master your business. You start with now. I gave you a lot today, but just do one of these ideas every week. Just apply just one of the things that I'm talking about this week, and then you'll be shocked at how much improvement you get over the next, as things progress. You'll be amazed at how things develop. Now, if you like what you've seen so far, by all means, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, and let me know what your biggest challenges working on, your own psychology. What's your biggest challenge right now? And as always, unleash your powerful self. Have a productive week. Stay powerful.